All right, what's our next bank of questions?
Oh, I'm so glad you should ask. So here we are. These are going to be fun ones. So we're really talking about being connected or not connected and still making learning good and relevant. So everything that was just said is applied here. Plus, I think the bottom question really is about connectivity. And I, from day one of the schools making conversation about, that's it, we're closing them down, the internet providers in our areas have really stepped forward to provide little MiFis, little hotspots for individuals and families, and schools have put budget toward it. I know one school who, the moment they realized that they're probably going to be shutting down, went out and just boom, they blew a big chunk of their budget. I'm not going to say blow. They spent a large chunk of their budget on buying a bunch of Chromebooks for their kids. They were probably going to be doing it anyway soon, and said, well, we don't have other expenses like building maintenance and bus routes and diesel, and we don't have, and I know that not all of these budgets, mesh perfectly together, but we can find money to put so that our kids can get connected. Now, we've got to learn fast about, the kids are probably using the computers in school, they just didn't have it at home. But luckily, they knew people who had policies for one-to-one devices and could start to apply those and move. It isn't that, too bad, kid. But there are some places that don't have connectivity yet. And so I just shared out a list right around here, around our, I would say within a 50-mile radius of Hutchinson, of these smaller communities that are opening up open Wi-Fi in community locations where you can still practice social distancing, but still spend some time getting essential internet connectivity done. Now, that's not it's not a perfect solution for everybody. Not everybody can drive to town to do that. Not everybody can, right? But it is a solution. And if you're looking for the one solution that fixes everything, boy, you tell me if you ever find that. I don't think we'll ever find it. And I don't think I want to waste time grousing about there's not one solution. I want to have 1 million solutions for 1,000 kids.
So I think we have a little bit of a resource for what some communities are doing with internet. I think that our tech guy actually sent out something. So let's make sure we drop that in links somewhere. I'll do some looking for that. I like that top one though. How do we account for activities that may need materials that not all households may have? I'm thinking of things here like sometimes just basic school supplies like rulers, crayons, markers, things like that. So get creative and say, maybe I'm thinking elementary here, like a ruler. I am very fortunate to have my entire classroom in tubs in the basement. So my kid has more school supplies than she could ever imagine having. But what are some other ways you could have them do that? So say things like, a standard ruler is 12 inches and you might not have that right now, but a piece of paper is 11 and a half. And so we're going to use that. That's going to be our standard, using non-standard measurements for something like that. How can you give them an alternate direction that still gets them using the skill of measuring something, but the standard is slightly different. I'm trying to give some other things, like if we're getting really down to kids don't have pencils and papers at home, everybody has junk mail. Can you do something on the back of a piece of junk mail at this time? Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't encourage things have to be perfect. We are writing on note cards over and over and over again, and we're trying not to be wasteful, because why be wasteful? Just get creative in what you're asking kids to use and do. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't mess up good for perfect is a great opportunity here.
In fact, what do they say? Perfect is the enemy of good or done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking at something right now, like here's a circle. What could we do with it, right? I mean, I'm just get creative. Lots of different opportunities.
And so how do we model that to our kids who don't always have the opportunity eyes to look around their house? They can't even find the shirt they're looking for. That's right there in front of them, let alone.
So, right. I was having this conversation the other day because if we are friends on Facebook, you may have seen my post about how I sent my child to school with 24 pencils with her name on them at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. And it's
right. And it's March. Here's her name. That's my handwriting. She came home with 19 brand new pencils with her name on them and 5 torn up, chewed up, partially used pencils. How in the world did my child come back home in March with the same pencils I sent to school in August and cannot find her jacket or shoes any morning? Like, how is she the same human? Right? So again, our kids can obviously be creative. They can find things. And if they can't, we're not going to put the pressure of that activity on them.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. My mom and dad used to talk about how my sister and I were perfect kids until we went to school.
Mm.
And then when we got home, apparently we were just real jackwagons, right? And
Yeah.
but at school, we were great kids still. As a teacher, I remember this, and you're illustrating it perfectly, that the kids who are okay at school might not be okay at home.
Mm.
And so when we're
Yeah.
talking about materials or we're talking about organizing or things like that, we can't assume that that kid is struggling and that kid's not. We just gotta kind of assume that all are until we know for certain they're not. I got connected with I fielded a phone call, or it wasn't a phone call, it was a Zoom call with a fax teacher recently who was uh, in a panic. I'm just going to say that, in a panic, because they just come back from spring break, just had the first staff meeting call, and started thinking about what she's going to have her kids do, because she's thinking about the curriculum. She always does. And then she knows that her kids don't have the food or the supplies. And I don't have anything at home to demonstrate that what I need to, and she was just like, blah. You're right. And really, she wasn't complaining. She came to me as a safe space to share her worries and said, what am I going to be able to do? And I said, not sure. What you can do right now is make a list of all the things you're worried about. Make a list of them. Make a list of the things that your kids don't have supplies for. And I've also heard this from an art teacher too. Okay, now think about what's essential, what's important, balancing your colleagues too, because you don't get 3 hours a day with these kids. And knowing whatever you want to do online is going to take twice as long in real life, online in real life. And so she started there and first of all, she got all her worries out. So it's now organized. Now she can prioritize. She's in an I can do some things mode. Otherwise, it's just all spinning around in her head in some crazy wind that she can't focus on any of it, and it's overwhelming. So then she said, I can't even get into my classrooms. I can't even get into, and I've got, my food's rotting. And I said, yeah. And I said, this is your first day. You got 5 days. And some of us have already had our 5 days. Tell me if it's true. First day, you were panicked. Second day seemed a little more doable. Third, you got a little worried again. But by the 5th day, you were like, I'm going to do this. I got a plan. I think I can do it. I'm still scared, still nervous, still having some nightmares first day of school. But I know what I can do. And and now those of you who are now in your 3rd or 4th days of school back with your kids, you realize that what you came in Monday with was wrong. And you've had to adjust it again. Welcome,
like real teaching.
Welcome to the world. So I think that you're going to get into your schools when you do. And if you don't, then you don't. If you spend a whole lot of energy saying, I don't have, recognize it, like the sadness, like the grief. Recognize it. Okay, yeah. It is. Now, what can I do? That's where we're at.
This takes me back to when I was student teaching. I went to KU, but I did my student teaching in Memphis. And so I had a cooperating professor that came to observe me that I had no relationship with whatsoever. And he was just kind of a tough old man. And he came in during one of my lessons, and this sounds crazy to me to say it out loud, but he told me I had too much technology in my lesson, and that I needed a true teacher is able to teach with nothing more than a chalkboard and a piece of chalk. And I remember being so angry at this man, like just because tech was, this was in the early 2000s and tech was like a big deal and we're supposed to be integrating all of this stuff. And let's be real, the tech I was using was a CD player and one of those, it was a projector thing that you stuck on your marker board to make it live. I don't remember what it was called, but so anyway, Fast forward about 3 weeks in student teaching, and in Memphis we had a tornado, and my classroom that I was my cooperating teacher's classroom flooded, and we lost everything. And so now we were teaching in that classroom where furniture went to die. You know that room. Every school has that room.
That was
And
my
literally all I had was a chalkboard and a piece of chalk. And I called him and said, "Sir," I don't remember his name, Dr. something, "I need you to come do another observation." And I was terrified, but I was able to teach that week. I didn't have workbooks. I didn't have a CD player. I didn't have anything fancy, but we were able to go into that room and teach kids with limited supplies because I'm a teacher. And if there's one thing I know how to do, it's be creative and feed off of my kids' needs and off their interests and build something awesome for them. So that's where we're at right now, folks. Your room is flooded. You have nothing. You are still a teacher. You still have everything you need right now to make this an amazing experience for your kiddos.
I've been known to say, if you have to use tech in order to teach, you may not be much of a teacher.
Mm.
I believe in technology 100% with everything because I think it takes us further, faster, deeper. I think it's the X, the Y axis, the learning and the time, and the Z, the technology, is the depth of the learning of where we can really go. Everything is available to us. But if that's the only thing, we're missing out on what really matters, which is that relationship, which is what teaching is. Yeah, understanding a kid and how to get into their brain. What is it Kevin Honeycutt says? Teaching is nothing more than non-invasive brain surgery.
I've never heard him say that.
Oh, yeah, he's been saying it for years. It is. It is. And we, as surgeons, have a heck of a responsibility to not mess it up, right? So how do we get in there and help them open up pathways that weren't there before?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So
All right.